Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. Welcome back to another edition of Scout Report. I wanted to wait for this one until we had final official confirmations, but to be honest, I'm too excited about this one. I just had to make this video even before it was fully official. But we are 99% sure that Piotr Zielinski will be moving on a free transfer from Napoli to Inter. And therefore, I have recruited my friend Dom from Napoli Talk, who will be giving us a deep dive into Zielinski. So today I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of a back seat, not doing so much talking, and let the Napoli expert tell us all about Zielinski. Of course, before we get started, guys, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Before we bring Dom in, the usual format of the Scout Report is to start off with a bio. So who is Zielinski? So let's go through his bio quickly. So Zielinski began his journey in Poland at his local club, where actually his father was his coach. You know, it was clear he had a lot of talent, and at 17 he moved to Italy, to Udinese in Italy, and we know that for the remainder of his career he will remain in Italy after that. Little known fact is that Zielinski actually makes his debut in 2012, coming on as a sub for Udinese legend Antonio Di Natale. Udinese then loaned him out for a couple of seasons at Empoli, where he impresses. Eventually in 2014, Napoli end up shelling out 16 million euros for the young Polish midfielder. Before this move to Napoli though, it's good to point out he was actually very close to a move to Liverpool. He was on the verge of a move to Liverpool. There's even pictures of him out there with a Liverpool shirt on. And Klopp was always a big fan of his and has remained a big fan of his. This is what Klopp had to say about him just a couple of years ago before Napoli faced Liverpool in the Champions League.
One player who always stayed is Zielinski, and around him you could build another team. It's really interesting project.
Outside of club duties for the national team, he is a mainstay for the Poland national team, one of the leaders of that team, and now he has over 80 appearances for Poland. Basically, Inter are signing a seasoned midfielder with over 470 appearances, 120 goal contributions in total. That's an average of a goal or assist every 4 games in his career. That is outstanding. So after over 300 appearances for Napoli, they're letting him go on a free, and you're wondering why? Well, that's why we brought our friend Dom to tell us all about it. Welcome to the channel, Dom. How are you doing?
Hey guys, and thank you, Uncle Sharma, for having me on your channel. First off, before I say anything about Zielinski, I just want to say congrats to Inter for the title. You guys absolutely crushed it. Yeah, a few Marotta League moments, but honestly, guys, you guys were the better team. So congrats. Enjoy this 20th Scudetto.
Well, thank you. Please kick us off. Just tell us a little bit about these circumstances on how Zielinski has left Napoli.
All right, how has Zielinski ended his relationship with Napoli? Well, guys, let's just take it back a little bit to last year, where everything seemed to be going super well. He provided that pre-assist to the Raspadori goal versus Juventus, which essentially clinched the title for Napoli, and you could tell his emotion when that happened, that he just collapsed onto the floor, finally having won the Scudetto. You could tell what it meant for him. When we did finally win the Scudetto, there were murals being put all over the city with his image. He was one of those that had been through it all with Napoli, along with Mario Rui, the only guy left from the team that had 91 points with Sarri. So for us, he was the kid that grew up to be a man. And this summer, things were even more positive, because news was coming out that he was refusing a deal from Saudi Arabia in order to stay at Napoli, a deal that would have made him mega rich, and he decided to stay in the summer. So we were super happy. The season starts, he actually does very well. 2 goals, 2 assists in the first 7 games, even with Garcia on the bench, and we're thinking, wow, Zielinski, you know, he's here to stay and he's gonna just keep improving even from last year. But then things started not working out within Napoli. Players were not getting the renewals that they had been promised, and in November, news broke out that Zielinski and Inter were in advanced talks, and that's when things started to fall apart. Zielinski's performances started to go down. You could tell that he was saving himself up. He didn't want to get injured. He didn't want to compromise the deal, and I think that upset a lot of Napoli fans. News started filtering it out that it wasn't because Napoli wasn't offering him a good salary that he wasn't renewing, but it was because of the agent not agreeing his agent fees. And us as fans, we find that so frustrating when a player decides to leave and decides to make his agent happy rather than think about the fans that had been through so much with him. And if he really had to leave, why did it have to be Inter and not a Premier League or La Liga team? That really upset the fans. So he started breaking that relationship with the fans. And Napoli tried to replace him, first with Samrazic, then that didn't happen. Then with Traoré, that did happen, but it wasn't so good for us. And he didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to the Napoli fans because he was ruled off for injury in the last game of the season, something that actually happened throughout the season. Zielinski has always been ruled out for injury this season, but we know for a fact that these are not real injuries. Zielinski is a player that never suffered from injuries, and all of a sudden this year he's getting injured a lot. And it's just, I think, the way for the club to say, listen, you're gonna rot not even on the bench, you're just gonna rot away from the changing room, you're not even gonna get a sniff of a football field if this is how you want to repay Napoli, if you want to go to Inter. And it's a shame, it's a sad story. I think there will definitely be a group of fans that are going to be upset with Zielinski for having gone to Inter. Me, on the other hand, I think that he's given us everything in 8 years, let's say 7 years. And at that point, I say, hey man, you're free to go. Look, on the one hand, yes. On the one hand, no. Listen, every player that put on that Napoli shirt last season is going to be considered in one way or another a legend, because that's how much that Scudetto meant for us, especially a player like Zielinski, who is 7th in the all-time appearance ranking. Of course, he's going to be considered as one of the greats in this club. And he's definitely a top 5 midfielder in the De Laurentiis era, alongside Jorginho, Amsic, Alan and Lobotka. That shows you the level that he's at. But at the same time, is he going to be the player that I'm going to tell my grandkids about? Probably not. I'll probably tell them about Hamsik, about Mertens, about Maradona, even though I never saw him. And if I'm thinking about last year, I'll tell them about Kvara, about Osimhen, and about Kim. If I had to pick 3 players, Zielinski operated more in the background. Super important, and I'm sure we'll miss him. But we throw the word legend around a lot, and I'm not sure just the number of appearances for the club are enough to grant him that level.
Yeah, I see. To be honest, I agree with you. I've been saying a similar thing recently about Thiago Motta not being an Inter legend. Now let's move on to Zielinski as a player, which is what we're most interested in. Of course, the main question Inter fans have is, what are we signing him for? What position does he play in, and what position he's going to cover for Inter? And I mean, if you look at his heat map over the last few years, all the signs are pointing towards the left centre mid position. Although he can easily cover the right centre mid position too, but he tends to drift infield because he likes to cut in with his right foot, even though he is quite both-footed. So to me, all the signs really are pointing to Zielinski being the real competitor for Mkhitaryan's spot in the team, because we've seen that Inzaghi, Frattesi sees him more as the right centre mid, Barella alternative. So that's my opinion on this. But let's get back to Dom. From someone that's watched Zielinski over these many years, actually, what are his strengths and weaknesses, bro? Tell us all about it.
Let me start off with the strengths, and let me give you 3 and 3 of each. So, strength, he's aesthetically beautiful on the ball. The way he drops that shoulder to get rid of pressing is beautiful, and the little 1-2s and the flicks that he has with his teammates playing in tight spaces, just one of the best midfielders out there if you're looking to just see beautiful football and you don't really care about the final outcome. Another beautiful thing about Zielinski is that he's 2-footed. Left foot, right foot, doesn't matter. In fact, he tends to shoot more with his weaker foot, his left, than his right. It makes you wonder if he even has a weaker foot. Finally, a third point, which is very, very unique, is that he just doesn't miss any games. That's, guys, less than 2 games missed per season. Is super, super reliable. Literally, the first name on a team sheet that's something that any coach wants because you can really plan around that. Now, his weaknesses. Look, defensively, he's useless. He can't head the ball. He can't really tackle. Yes, he's done a few nice slide tackles here and there, but he's not really going to be chasing back anybody now, is he? He's too aesthetically beautiful of a player to dirty his socks into a slide tackle. So defensively, he's not going to give you much. He's also extremely inconsistent. He will be the best version of De Bruyne and Hamsik put together one day, and then for the next 5 games, completely ghosted. Don't really know what you're going to get with him, and he has a knack of maybe not being able to score the easier chances. If you have a ball bouncing in the box and it falls to Zielinski, for whatever reason, he can't score that. He only scores beautiful goals. I don't know if to put that as a pro or a con. It's a pro that he scores beautiful goals. It's a con that he can't score the easy ones. And one more weakness with Zielinski. Maybe this is a bit mean, but from having watched him grow up, I would say that his personality is very weak. And this is a serious accusation, but look, I've seen him grow up. I've seen that he had the potential to really be De Bruyne or Hamsik, and he wasn't able to fulfill his destiny. And I think that's because of his personality. You know, going to Inter, I feel like he's shied away from an experience outside of Italy. Italy is really all he's ever known. He'd rather ruin his legacy at Napoli than do that. And then the fact that Di Lorenzo became captain over Zielinski a few seasons back, even though Zielinski had been in the club longer, just shows that he's not able to be captain material, let's say. He doesn't have that aura around him. So yeah, I would say a weakness of his is that he hasn't got a strong personality. What can he add to Inter? Well, Zielinski adds a lot of class, all the strengths that we talked about earlier. And I think at Inter, he can really show them even a lot more than at Napoli, because his qualities seem to get expressed even more when the game is fast flowing, when there's spaces. And I think that Inter, the way that they play, the way that they soak up pressure and then all of a sudden they have bursts of energy, I think that really suits Zielinski's style of play, and he can rip through the opposition with his passing and with his ball progression. Now, obviously, Inter are also getting a very talented, reliable 30-year-old, experienced in Serie A, recent champion for free. That suits their model incredibly well. I don't think there's many players out there that tick all those boxes.
Fantastic summary. Yeah, I love watching Zielinski play. But ultimately, Dom, my question is, do you think he can take that starting spot from Henrik Mkhitaryan?
Look, he's 6 years younger than Mkhitaryan. So for sure, if not this season, then next season, he's going to be replacing him. Mkhitaryan is a guy that plays basically every single game, but he's not Iron Man. At some point, he's got to give in. And I think Zielinski overall is a more talented player. I think what Mkhitaryan does bring to Inter is that he's a bit more of a well-rounded midfielder when it comes to stamina, when it comes to defensive work. He's better in his duels. These are weaknesses in Zielinski's game. Yes, Zielinski plays every single game, so you could say that he has stamina over a season, but within each game, he's not a workhorse. You know, he's not the guy running as much as Mkhitaryan. But I think that rather than being a Mkhitaryan replacement, he will be replacing Sensi and Klaassen. Zielinski is way better than those two players.
Oh, thank you for that, Dom. This has been fantastic insight, man. Really appreciate you coming on the channel.
Thank you, Uncle Sharma, for having me on, and hope to make a video with you soon.
So guys, I think it's fair to say that Zielinski is going to have his work cut out to have a starting spot in. So first of all, as Dom has said, and I think we all know, if you watch Zielinski, he's going to have to improve a lot off the ball. His discipline, his defending side of things is going to have to improve a lot. And obviously, as Dom has also mentioned, getting accustomed to Inzaghi's formation. Yes, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, you know, midfield 3 is not too different, but there's still some adaptation to do, working with wing backs compared to working with wingers and proper fullbacks. But I have no doubt that Zielinski is going to add a real attacking edge to this team with his qualities. In 2018, the president of the Polish FA, who was actually also one of the best players of his generation. He said that Zielinski has even more quality than, wait for it, Kevin De Bruyne. And yes, especially in 2018, maybe this guy was a little bit over-exaggerated with this claim. But in terms of pure talent, pure talent, technically speaking, like this guy really is top notch. And we love Mkhitaryan, we love Mkhi, but since he's moved to Inter, it's almost like he's forgotten how to shoot. Even Barella last season had a bit of a off season in terms of goal scoring and shooting on goal. So Zielinski coming into this team, in theory, should bring more to that department. He can strike it sweet off either foot, left or right, especially from distance. And if we look at his goal tally season by season, starting off in 2020, 2021, 10 goals in 2021, 8 in 2022, 7 in 23, and even last year when he was just a bit part player, 4 goals. As a bonus, he's also a good penalty taker, only having missed 1 out of 7 for Napoli. To conclude, what is the verdict on this move? Zielinski on a free. I am a big fan. Beppe Marotta, Ausilio, amazing work. I've been a Zielinski fan for a long time. Even with his inconsistencies over the years, I felt like he was one of the best midfielders in the league. And now adding him at the age of 30 to this already amazing midfield feels like an absolute cheat code. A couple of caveats though. My hope is that Zielinski comes into this team with hunger, with, a feeling of wanting to set things right, a point to prove after the poor season he's had at Napoli, and he's ready to learn and improve to take that Mkhitaryan spot. He's not just here to be, happy to be the sub or happy to be a rotation player. We need players to be pushing for the starting spot and raising the level. I hope he wants to add another Scudetto to his CV, not just happy with the one Scudetto, and wants to add other trophies to his cabinet and also maybe some European glory, who knows. And I think by the end of the season, he should have overtaken Mkhitaryan for that starting spot if he does improve on all those different things he needs to improve on. But we know Mkhitaryan is an absolute beast and Inzaghi loves him. That was my scout report, guys. Thank you so much from Dom from Napoli Talk. Please go and subscribe and check out his channel. He is the go-to person when it comes to Napoli content. Most importantly, let me know your thoughts about this move. Are you happy? Are you a bit underwhelmed? Did we miss something in this report? Let me know. Is there something that you want to talk about in terms of Zielinski's qualities or attributes that we didn't talk about? And of course, comment down below. Let me know everything that you think. Please leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you for the next scout report, which will be for Mehdi Taremi. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter, Forza Zielinski.